Hello everyone, my name is Don Cowan. I'm Distinguished Professor Emeritus of Computer Science at the University of Waterloo. Just a little bit of my history. I have been in the computer field for almost 60 years and founded the Computer Science Department at the University of Waterloo. We have had a long relationship with Brazil. I have worked with Professor Carlos Lucena since 1967 when he first came to the University of Waterloo. And we have done a lot of joint research together. I have also worked with several other professors, including Professor Arndt von Stau and Professor Roberto Jerusalimski, to name just two. The type of research we have done is focused on software engineering, and I would estimate that we have published approximately 150 refereed papers during that time for conferences and journals. So it has been a very, very successful relationship. Professor Lucena and I, as I say, have worked together very closely. I have visited Brazil many times. He has visited Waterloo many times. And as a matter of fact, starting in 1990, he has been in Waterloo every year up till 2013. So he came for 23 years. He would come, believe it or not, in the winter time in Waterloo, the summertime here. We, as I say, work together very, very closely. Many students have come from Brazil to Waterloo to work with me or with other people. Quite often they started working with me and then moved on to other people. So we have many professors in Brazil have a Waterloo PhD and will be in universities as far north as Pernambuco and as far south as Rio Grande do Sul. We have people at Campinas, we used to have people at USP, etc. So we have, as they say, a large number of people in Brazil. I currently, apart from Professor Lucena, I also work with a professor by the name of Toesi Oliveira, who was one of Lucena's PhD students. He works with, he teaches in Brazil, but actually comes to Waterloo quite often to work. Waterloo has a large number of quite a large number of Brazilian faculty members in various fields. There's 2 or 3 in computer science, and there's ones in other fields as well, applied health sciences. Thinking about how we can strengthen, our cooperation is very strong, but thinking about how we can strengthen that cooperation is an interesting problem. And several ideas come to mind. One is, of course, students coming north. We will not likely see many graduate students coming south because of they have to change language, and getting a PhD is hard enough without having to do it in another language. However, faculty members would love to come here, especially in working with the people, and people have come here in the past. Lucena and I, many years ago, negotiated an agreement with the Canadian and Brazilian governments so that people would come to Brazil and teach, releasing people to go north for PhDs at Waterloo and the University of Toronto. So this is one way. Another way that might be interesting, the University of Waterloo runs on the co-op system. And the co-op system means that students go to school for 4 months and then they have a job for 4 months. Then they finish the job and come back to school. Sometimes they can do the job for 8 months, but it's usually 4. And we have students going all over the world. We have students going to Europe, we have students going to Japan, we have students in India, we have students going to Silicon Valley. And I'll come back to that in a second just to give you an idea how big Waterloo is. But Waterloo has all of these co-op students going all over the world. I don't know of any who have come to Brazil. There may be some, but I don't know of any. And this would be an excellent thing whereby they could come and work in Brazil for 4 months. I'm sure they would thoroughly enjoy the experience. Waterloo's co-op program is large. It is the largest one in the world. The second largest one is at Northeastern University in the United States. Another thing about Waterloo that just as an interesting fact that you may not realize, There is a small place in the United States called Silicon Valley, which has a lot of high-tech development. And if you ask where do the students come from that work in Silicon Valley, that is after they've graduated, and the first place they come from is Berkeley, which makes sense, it's close. The second place they come from is Stanford. And the third place they come from is the University of Waterloo. Now, Waterloo is a long way from Silicon Valley, but our students are very good, and so they come to, a lot of them go to Silicon Valley, quite a large number. In fact, is every year we go to Silicon Valley to see how many we can bring back. So that's some of the things that we could do. We could strengthen our co-op program, our cooperative education program. We could bring people, I think professors, maybe postdocs to Brazil, while we bring people north to do PhDs, master's degrees and PhDs, mostly PhDs. Most of the people who come to Canada from Brazil come to do a PhD. Yes, just to discuss the program, there is a number of things about Waterloo that are quite interesting, and Professor Lucena tells me that you do similar things here. Waterloo has a policy that says, as a professor, if I create something, I own it. The university doesn't own anything. The only part of the rule is that I must give the university the right to use that material in research. But that means that I can go out easily and start a company, which Waterloo has several thousand startups currently. And we are constantly looking for people to hire. We currently have 3,000 technical jobs that need to be filled. We can't graduate enough students fast enough to fill those jobs. So this allows us to create a very, very interesting culture of startups and innovation. And we have several organizations that help with that. One organization in the University of Waterloo is called Velocity. And there's two parts to that. One part is where students work in a common space, creating ideas. But the other one is that the students when they come to the university, talk about being entrepreneurs, and if they are interested in being an entrepreneur, they actually live in a residence where other students are entrepreneurs. So they form teams automatically, sort of organically, I guess would be a good way to say it, that these students allows them to develop the innovative ideas and businesses. Now that's only one example. We also have things called accelerator centers, which give good environments for students. You have something similar here. Probably operates a little differently just because of culture differences, etc., but it would be very similar. But we have a large amount of this, and you will see all sorts of companies started by students, by professors, etc. And as a matter of fact, we even have a special program where, I'm sure you all know what an MBA is. Well, we have a thing called an MBET, which is Masters of Business, Entrepreneurship, and Technology. And you can think of that as being a high-tech MBA, whereby you're learning about how technology businesses work. The businesses in Waterloo, by the way, are not just software. There are many, many different kinds. There's a company called Desire to Learn, which does educational software, of course. There's another company called ClearPath Robotics, which builds robots for various things. We have other companies that build parts of the Mars rover. Okay, so we have a very, very broad base for our developments in the way we operate. By the way, the cooperative program is not the entire university. It is all of engineering is cooperative. Most of mathematics is cooperative. And a couple of other just interesting things that happen at Waterloo is we have a mathematics faculty. I'm not quite sure what you would call it in Portuguese, but it's equivalent to an engineering school. It has about 6,000 students. Now, if you can imagine 6,000 students studying mathematics, they study pure mathematics, applied mathematics, computer science, statistics and actuarial science, and a thing called combinatorics and optimization. Combinatorics is basically using mathematics to count things when you can't count them, so to speak. And most of the students in that are in the co-op program as well. It means they go out to work every 4 months. Well, if you're in computer science, it should be easy to find a job, of course. So that whole program then is a very, very, very powerful program. I like to think we have a lot of very smart people. And so people come for the intellectual stimulation. And it's it's quite a well-run country. Every country has its problems, but Canada is fairly well-run. It's easy to, transportation is fairly easy. You know, administration in the university is easy. You can get your money fairly. You get paid regularly, etc. So but we do have, I think, a university which is very, very good. It has gone from. It's now 62 years old, and when I first went to the University of Waterloo, which was in 1960, so 3 years after the university was formed, there was one and a half buildings, okay? Now, I don't know how many buildings there are, but the total real estate value of the university is probably about $3 billion. It has it's very involved in not just computer science, of course, computer science and all the things that are around it, like artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, etc. We also have a very, very large component of quantum computing. And interestingly enough, one of the people who founded a company which you may know of called BlackBerry, it used to be called RIM, Research in Motion, but later was renamed BlackBerry. He took some of his money, he has several $billion, and took $100 million of it and made a venture capital fund to invest in companies that do quantum technology, okay? Which is it's pretty advanced thinking. He believes that quantum technology will be leading the way. And we have a very, very strong group in quantum technology. We have also a very strong group in nanotechnology. We also have a very strong group in autonomous vehicles. We have a license to actually take an autonomous vehicle on the road, on the real road, and drive it around. So there's all sorts of interesting, and those are just a few of the possible things that are going on in the university. So it's a very exciting place. So, and if somebody comes to study computer science from here, they may actually get into many other fields as a possible choice. If you can become a permanent resident of Canada before you come, okay, then, in other words, if you have some kind of status from the Canadian government, then the fees are cheap, relatively speaking. If you come as a foreign student, the fees are expensive. So this is a problem that people face. A number of people have decided, though, that they want to send their students to Waterloo. Another thing that I should mention to you, many years ago, about 56 years ago, some friends of mine started a mathematics contest with the idea that mathematics would be fun. It would be like going to the Olympics, except it's an Olympics of mathematics. And they made it for the high schools. And within 1 year, that contest was brought inside the University of Waterloo. Now, each year, we have a contest that involves 250,000 students. Okay. Now so we have 250,000 of the best math students, not just in Canada, but primarily in Canada, but we go to other countries too. I don't know which other countries at the moment. But that means that Waterloo knows who the best math students are. And we bring, how can I say it, if there are 20, if you pick the top 20 math students in Canada, Waterloo usually gets 16 or more, okay? So we always do very well in the, there's two big competitions, the ACM programming contest, we always do well. We don't always win because there's some very good schools out there. And also what's known as the Putnam Mathematics Competition, which is for North America only. The ACM competition, when we competed at the regional level to send people to the international, the top 3 teams were from Waterloo. So it gives you some idea that we have some very, very smart students. I would never survive. They're smarter than I am.
Excellent.
Anything else?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.